made their living by investing in artists as they were developing and have promoted him. And of course, you have a tribe of art critics and people who write them up and that kind of stuff. And as the value of the artist, rises, your investment in him or her also rises. Now, it's a different thing about whether the artwork is really excellent or not. If you were to have an original Picasso, it doesn't matter what's on that paper. If it is Picasso, that's money in the bank for you. Exactly. So who ascribes values to them? And that brings us back, it is a circular kind of thing, to the idea of culture. When at the turn of the century, people like Leo Frobenius traveled to Nigeria, to Africa, they did the best they could to undervalue the artworks that they found there, the Ife, the very beautiful Ife pieces. It was so compellingly beautiful that Frobenius had to find another source of origin for that. He said this could not have been made by the people, by Africans. Right. It was from the lost city of Atlantis. Come on, black people can't make those things. Of course, we know better now. That is part of the values. And it is not a new thing. What Frobenius did in 1910 actually was not any new. You need to go to classical antiquity and find writers, Herodotus, Ptolemy, and all of them writing about Africa in ways that were so disparaging. The history was virtually constructed for people in the Middle Ages to consume because Africans were from the dark continent. How were these things acquired? How much did the museums pay? That's very critical. It's a discussion we have not really entered into because it is a pillaging, the stealing of Africa that continues even till now. You get to a museum, you see an Oba's crown that you never even saw when you were in that town growing up. You ask, how did this get here? Who paid for it? These are questions that we have not answered, and still in terms of values. And of course, the classification also is part of the value system. It started as, they're primitive. They're primitive. Okay, I thought we've outgrown that. Okay, sorry about that. We're using tribal. We're using tribal. And then some of us complained, come on, tribal? You call people in Africa who really are, who have their own nations. The Yoruba are about 30 million people. And you call them a tribe? You have countries in Europe that are this. Size in terms of size of the Yoruba, and okay, we don't say tribe anymore, we use traditional. How about that? It's a question that I keep asking everybody, what is art? It is something that seems very simple, at the same time very complex. I'm yet to find any definitive kind of answer to that question. But when it comes to narrativization of art, when it comes to categorization of art, we do much better in that area. And that's why we say this is, we even say contemporary art. We say contemporary African art, contemporary Nigerian art, art of the African diaspora, art of the African-American peoples. We do much better. Why? Because as art historians, for example, we do not like, there's nothing we like better than pigeonholing. We like to compartmentalize. If it has not been labeled, we will label it. Yes. We have to be able to impose some kind of order on things. We have to do that so we can slot it in some kind of cabinet, probably, put it away. And so it comes to what we also are looking at. we may have reason to come back to that down the road. But let me segue to the issue that I think is very important because it animates why we are here today.
And so that brings us to this wonderful African art, contemporary African art, kind of strange name. And what is it used for? Because all African art is made for something. It's not like the Europeans who buy art for status, who come over and have a glass of champagne with me and toast to my beautiful piece of art. No, that's not why African art is made.
And just to add, to what you said and that of Professor Jegede, when it comes to art definition, even though in the Western sense of it, they say art is a universal language that, therefore, the art historian or the people writing about art, they are Westerners, and they are looking at it from the point of view of, of the West. So therefore, they say art is a universal language. Even though that might be true, but the truism in that is limited, to a certain extent. Because if art is a universal language, how come not every individual understands, an art piece?
I understand what you're saying too, do something to improve yourself with your art, but now it becomes a vehicle where it is monetized, and we knock it up to another level where it's no longer that organic expression, but it's done for the purpose of gain of some level. Be it monetary, be it for status, be it for definition of culture with that intention, not it just being organic. Is that problematic, or is that something we should just simply embrace?
I think, I think there is no reason we may not embrace it. So what I'm saying is that if we like, we may embrace it. In the sense that, like I said before, that art is a medium of communication. And just like you said, that, that is there a problem, to say, okay, this is art? And to some extent, what is known today as contemporary art, be it contemporary American art, contemporary, Spanish art, or contemporary African art, artists, and particularly museums, they have commodified art. So, and today, it's not just about communication alone. It's about selling your work. It's about making money, museums, galleries, making a lot of money, collectors making a lot of money. Many, they don't go outside the academic of just maybe teaching and maybe re-examining, the past, the famous artists like Picasso, like the Renaissance, like all those 17th century art, 18th, 19th, 21st century, and they concentrate their work on Western art. So, and when I say Western art, not just Western art, the Euro-American, blood Western art. That is art that has to do with white. I'm not saying it should not be studied. It should be studied. But art from non-Western societies also should be studied and be documented. So therefore, if people are able to read what they see, then the orientation will change, the value, will change. So we should not leave it just, to, others to write it for us.
There are two other things to add on to that. The importance of documentation. And if you look at this, and I'll just pick this up, this is a wonderful piece of documentation. Last night I was here, I was with Kathleen Balfour, who got a piece, and Dio gifted it, and she's at Northwestern. So now it'll be in the Africana collection. So you've got that history that stays. The other importance, I think, in terms of documentation is sometimes we underestimate the value of a good dealer, because if that dealer is good, and if you look at those who have risen, my background is also marketing, you've got a lot of artists, but it's the marketing of the artist. It may not have anything to do with the work, but it's that dealer who gets that artist into shows, gets that artist into museums, and guides that artist, but also sort of nurtures that artist in terms of building up the value as well as documenting the rise of that value. And that we sometimes undercut, because a lot of times we like to go and get the, well, a lot of us, in Diaspora Rhythms. And Diaspora Rhythms is an organization of collectors of the African diaspora. And in terms of, and so we like to undercut by going directly to the artist and just getting it as cheap as we can, which is also, but not documenting with a bill of sale or the bio. And so that's one of the initiatives that Diaspora Rhythms is doing with the artists that we have honored in the past, in terms of just starting with that and documenting those in our collection. Diaspora Rhythms has about 40 members, and we honor like 4 or 5 artists. We've honored Dio twice, and he's been honored this year. But just starting there and then breaking out.
What is Black art, African art, art that is created uniquely by a person who is Black, or someone who has mastered certain styles, themes that speak to the Black experience? Which means it could be anybody who's doing Black art. Is that Black art?
Yes.
So I was just wondering, from the great minds assembled here.
It's a big tip. That's happened with Native Americans. White people are usurping their art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it happened with Asians. They usurping their art. You know, so
You can define it by, for example, saying that it is Black art because it is produced by a Black person.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way. You can also say it is Black art because the content speaks, the subject matter speaks to Black people. And do we want to be prescriptive? Mm-hmm. Do we want to actually say that this does not qualify as Black art because it wasn't produced by a Black person? Mm-hmm. What if a Black person were to produce art of white people?
right.
As they did.
Would that
At the beginning.
okay? Would that be Black art anymore? Would it qualify? One of the problems of elision, of pushing people back, of not admitting people into the academy, the museums, by curators who happen to be of a different race, is because of this claim, which has been, kind of defined as being very lazy, that we don't understand what it's all about. That the work looks good, but we don't understand it, therefore we cannot curate it. That was then. Now we also have a group of artists who are from the diaspora, who are in fact doing so much here in curating art. Oku Wenzo, for example, Salah Hassan, Oluokwibe, and quite a number of them. But of course, it didn't take long before the criticism also emerged that group also has its own group, a circle of people that it kind of circulates its exhibitions amongst. But the point is this, that the establishment of a journal by Ewezo is one of the best things that have happened to African art in the last 10 years plus. Other than African art, which continuously has been the staple of contemporary art, we don't have too many journals. There is the International Review of African American Art that has been on, since God knows when. So, in addition to what Wole said, I think we also need to float journals, float magazines, have presence online. The web is a very, very good kind of place to be, and for a very small a part of the cost. that will take you to do a journal. You can do it online. And so if one of the things that probably will come from this is to have a kind of presence where there'll be some kind of networking that would have been well worth the efforts.
Dr. Panelist?
I think we try and imbibe the culture of recognizing our own. People, or many people, so to say, many people, they don't, recognize their own. They prefer something, outside of their own culture. And if we do that, nobody will write our, our history for ourselves, for us. So therefore, let's start from there. Let us recognize our own. Let us write our own history. Let us respect our own people. If we do that, others will respect us. Others will, form the, the culture. I mean, to, share with us and also understand us more. Because if we don't understand, if we don't recognize ourselves, nobody will, will respect us, and nobody will understand us. So that's the way I see it.
Lisa Gaines McDonald will allow Grand Baba to close.
As a collector, buy what you like. The value is what you see in it. And I look at in terms of what I've purchased, whether it's been in Bahia, in Benin, it all has a common theme, and it all builds on, whether you say traditional art or whatever, religion, it all has some cultural history built into it. And if you want more information on diasporism so that you can learn about local collectors and local artists, you can see me, or you can see Patrick that's sitting there, or you can see Lee. Thank you.
People from all over Chicago would flock to this place. So it's a very political, cultural, political thing that we're dealing with. And we must understand that. So therefore, how does this art get into that venue? That's the question.
And my question to you is, as just an avid collector, does it start with people collecting works, commissioning works, so that we develop a reputation of artists, a pedigree, if you will, that we can establish for our own artists?
Exactly. And not only then, after you buy the art, you must gift the museum with the art, to put the artist's name out there.
Right, yeah.
And when there's an art auction, we don't buy this work at the cheapest price, but at the highest price.
And Dr. Jegede.
It was Tino Achebe who gave some kind of vent to the Igbo proverb that until the lions have their own historian, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. I will close on that.
Thank you so very much. Yes.
Very much, for coming. We also like to recognize the contribution of our partners of this exhibition. The African International House. They've been so fabulous. It's an organization based here in Chicago. We thank them for the support, and we would like to thank the South Shore Cultural Center for allowing us, to use this space to begin this journey. We can assure you some of the things that came out of this, our discussion today. There is going to be some serious online presence, kind of interactive format. This is just the beginning, and we take it further and we take it, higher. Thank you very much, and you all have a very, very wonderful afternoon. And have a safe trip back.